Before we begin, I just want to make a clarification that after I finished recording the last episode of this, I didn't realize until it was already too late that I told you the wrong number, and it was not Cheers was not my 19th favorite TV show. It was my 18th favorite TV show. I even changed the title on the actual video itself, but I wasn't able to change the titles within the video because the thing had already been up, and I figure, yeah, it's already too late for me to change it. But yeah, that was it. Cheers was 18. Now we're going to take a look at number 17 as we continue on my list of my 30 favorite TV shows of all time. It's another great comedy series and probably the most underappreciated show in TV history, and that is, of course, Arrested Development.
Now the story of a wealthy family who lost everything and the one son who had no choice but to keep them all together. It's Arrested Development.
Now, when I say the most underappreciated show in TV history, I'm not talking about with critics overall. In fact, critics were very receptive to the show from the get-go early on, but I'm mostly talking about from the TV viewer perspective in terms of the fact that it never got the best ratings. It always kept getting shuffled around to these time slots where it couldn't do well. I mean, they even put it behind The Simpsons in its second season, and it didn't really do anything, and they moved it over to Monday night in its final season where it could never find an audience for it. But, nevertheless, though, the reception to Arrested Development has definitely been there overall from the very beginning, and it was kind of ahead of its time. You know, this was before we got shows like The Office and Modern Family, which kind of had a similar setup to it, not really with the whole documentary style aspect of it, but, you know, the idea that you have Ron Howard narrating this, who is one of the producers on the show. But the whole idea of Arrested Development follows it's a show about a formerly wealthy dysfunctional family, the Bluth family, and is presented in a serialized format which incorporates handheld camera work, voiceover narrations, archival photos, and historic footage, and it maintains numerous running gags and catchphrases. And the setup of the show is that you have the Bluth family, as I mentioned, who are this wealthy family overall, and at the center of it is the son, Michael Bluth, who's the show's quote, straight man, if you will, who strives to do the right thing to keep his family together despite their materialism, selfishness, and manipulative natures. Michael is a widowed single father whose teenage son, George Michael, played by Michael Cera, has the same qualities of decency but feels a constant pressure to live up to his father's expectations and is often reluctant to follow his father's plans. He begins to have a crush on his cousin, Maeve Funke, played by Aaliyah Shawkat, which develops from a kiss she gave him as part of a prank. Michael's father, George Bluth Sr., played by Jeffrey Tambor, is the patriarch of the family and a corrupt real estate developer who was arrested in the first episode. George goes to considerable lengths to manipulate and control his family in spite of his imprisonment and makes numerous efforts to evade justice. His wife and Michael's mother, Lucille, played by Jessica Walter, is ruthlessly manipulative, materialistic, constantly drunk, and hypercritical of every member of her family. Her grip is tightest on her youngest son, Buster, played by Tony Hale, who is overeducated on various random subjects but lacks emotional intelligence or common sense. Buster is also a mother's boy with dependency issues and is prone to panic attacks. Michael's oldest brother is George Oscar Bluth II, played by Will Arnett, known by his initials Gob, which is pronounced in the series like the big biblical figure Job. But yeah, you get the idea. But he's an unsuccessful professional magician whose business and personal schemes usually fail or become tiresome and are quickly abandoned. Job is competitive with Michael and bullies Buster. Michael's twin sister Lindsay, played by Portia de Rossi, is spoiled and materialistic, consistently seeking to be the center of attention and espousing various social causes for the sake of vanity. In the last episode, it's revealed that she and Lucille are actually half-sisters. She's married to Tobias Funke, played by David Croft, who's a discredited psychiatrist turned aspiring actor. Tobias is a self-diagnosed never nude, a disorder comparable to gymophobia, whose language and behavior has heavily homosexual overtones to which he seems oblivious and which are the center of his much tongue-in-cheek comedy throughout the series. Their daughter, Maybe, is a rebellious teen with an opportunistic streak who seeks to defy her parents for the sake of attention and otherwise pursues boys in power and furthers her complicated relationship with George Michael. So as you can tell, there's a lot of shit going on in this show overall. And you follow this family, and it is a show where it is one of the most smartly made TV shows that works mostly because everybody in the cast works so well. They work well as individuals, but they work off each other very well in general here. This is a really great cast they put together here, you know. All these really good people overall in here, really fun people overall. Even people, you know, Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, Michael Cera, David Cross, Portia de Rossi, Tony Hale, Jessica Walter, Jeffrey Tambor, Alia Shawkat. They are a lot of fun to watch, even though they could be really horrible people at times. It's one of those shows that also works because you use a lot of meta humor in the show as well, and they do use it to good use. I think of it as kind of a precursor to another one of my favorite shows we'll eventually get to, Community. It is also one of the rare shows where the guest stars that show up here do just as great of a job as the cast itself. I mean, when you get these big names in here, because they get some big names in here, like, you know, Ron Howard is the narrator, of course, but you have Henry Winkler, who plays Barry Zuckerkorn, the family lawyer. Liza Minnelli shows up as Lucille 2. Patricia Velasquez, Charlize Theron, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I lost her name for a second. Jason Bateman's real-life sister, Justine Bateman, shows up on the show. Dave Thomas, Judy Greer, Ben Stiller, Amy Poehler, they all work very well with the cast in general here. And it works because they give them a lot of really great material to work with here. One of my favorite episodes of the show is very early on in season 1. It's the first Christmas episode they ever do, where you have Henry Winkler and John Michael Higgins as these lawyers, and the delivery on some of these jokes are so well done. Henry Winkler is absolutely hilarious as Barry Zuckerkorn. There's a lot of great moments in here where you can see the scumbaggery with him, but you also kind of like him for just him it's with the way that he talks to this family in general. John Michael Higgins has some great moments too, like he's trying to hide from Jessica Walter's Lucille, and every time that they're talking, and there's a point where, you know, John Michael Higgins just goes, I'll just duck behind that couch over there, like little things like that. Just the delivery on some of these jokes are so well done, and it's a shame that this show never got the recognition it deserved back then, because this really was one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. But it did eventually find its audience, mostly because of DVD, and especially with streaming, as Netflix picked up the 2 additional seasons since then. Season 4 was not as good as it could have been. That was one where they were trying to experiment more with more solo episodes centering around everybody in the cast. One character will have one separate episode each time around, and a lot of people really weren't into it overall. I watched it again recently. I don't think it was that bad, but it definitely was underwhelming compared to the other seasons in general. I thought the final season overall was a whole lot better. It did give the show a proper send-off overall, and I think it was definitely worth it in the end. I know people were kind of mixed on the last season too, but it's definitely a lot better than season 4. I'll give it that. But really, the first 3 seasons of Arrested Development are the best that this show has ever done. It's very funny. It's ahead of its time. It's clever. The cast is great. If you haven't seen it, go and see this show. It's one of the best shows on television, and it's number 17 on my list of my favorite TV shows of all time. Seek it out, Arrested Development. Great, great show. So that's number 17 on my list of my top 30 favorite TV shows. If you want to hear what I had to say about Cheers last week, check out the video in the corner, check out all the other episodes below, and I'll see you next week.